What's up everyone, it's JaySamz and welcome to a tutorial. I know it's a bit different. So I'm going to show you how to not only animate your text, but we're also going to be saving it as a preset so you can use it later on in another project, or maybe this project. In the case that there's any steps that you already know, or you want to just skip to a specific area in this video, here's some timestamps. So the first thing I'm going to need you to do is press T on your keyboard. Go over to the program monitor and click it so that you have a text layer now in your timeline. For now, the first bit of text we're going to put in there is probably just going to be blank. Literally the word blank. Just because we're using this as a template for later. From here, inside your timeline, I'm going to need you to select the text layer. And then we're going to go over to the effects control panel. Here you can change the text, so whether that be the font, or you can give it a stroke, give it a different color, you can give a drop shadow. This is all up to preference. You can do it whatever way you prefer. Inside of the effects control panel, we're going to find the text and we're going to make sure that it's aligned to the center. Now that's just aligning the text to the center. We also want to make sure that the text box itself is also aligned with the center. So we're going to go over to the program monitor, select our text, and then we're also going to find the essential graphics panel. From here, we're just going to make sure that it's aligned to the center as well. Now obviously it's your preference where you want this box exactly, but if you want to make sure that it's in the center whilst you're moving it around, just hold shift, click on the text box in the program monitor, and you should be able to just drag it up and down without it moving out of place. Now one important thing I'm going to need you to do is click on the text in the program monitor. You should see a small blue circle. This is your anchor point. This will determine where on the text the animation is going to occur. So we're going to make sure we have clicked and dragged this and making sure that it's centered in the text, or essentially wherever you want the text to be able to pop out. So you've customized your text the way you want and positioned it where you want it as well. Now to go on to the animation. We're going to make sure our text layer is selected, and then we're going to go over to our effects control panel. From here we're going to scroll down until we find transform. And since our text is going to be a pop-in animation, it's going to be the scale values that we're going to be changing. And we're going to drag over our cursor to the very beginning. From here we're going to set our first keyframe. Now everybody's going to have a different way in which they want to paste their own animation, but for me, this is how I do it personally. So from the first keyframe that we set, I go forward 2 frames. I set a second keyframe, and then I go forward 3 frames. With those set, we're going to go back to the very first keyframe and we're going to start changing some values here. So for the first keyframe, I set the value to 70. Then going on to the second keyframe, either using our arrow keys on our keyboard or the go to next keyframe button. I set the second keyframe to 110, and then with the final keyframe I just leave that at 100. And animation wise, that is everything. If you now go to the beginning of your text layer and you press play, you can see the animation happen. Now the final thing we're going to be doing is saving this text and its animation as a preset so you can use it later on in another project. We're going to go over to the effects control panel, select the text, right click it, and then select save preset. From here you can basically name it whatever you want, but something appropriate so that you can find it later on. I wasn't too sure if I already named something this, so I just added a 2 at the end of it just to be sure. Then finally you're going to press anchor to endpoint and select OK. In your timeline, you can now delete the text layer that we made at the beginning of the tutorial, and we're basically going to be starting like it's from scratch. So you're going to press T again so that you can make a text box, so within the program monitor, but this time we're not going to type anything inside it, we're going to leave it blank. And now you're going to find your effects panel where all of your effects are. You're going to search up whatever you named your animated text that we made earlier, and you're going to click and drag it over to our empty text layer. So now the animated text that we made earlier should now be applied to that layer. So yeah, now you never have to ever do it again. It's all set and done for you. Feel free to get rid of the text that says blank and fill it with whatever you want it to say. For me personally, I like to go forward from here now, and whilst holding the Alt key, I click and drag the text layer we just made to duplicate it. Then you can just adjust its length and change the text again, and then yeah, you just have text popping in and out. And now he has a dragon for a hand. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Tutorial is not usually something that I do, but I thought I'd switch up a bit and, you know, just give some advice, some help where I can when it comes to editing, because it's something I enjoy doing. That's all for me. I'll catch you all in the next video in a bit.